So this video is going to talk about how to self-study for the SAT. In the previous video, I discussed some of the strategies to help your child study in group setting for standardized tests. Now, you don't have to enroll your child in some expensive group classes for them to do well on these tests. And I also want to emphasize the fact that you as a parent should not overly stress for your child to do well on the SAT, because the college admission system in the US is holistic. College admissions is holistic. So this means you can score a perfect 1600 on the SAT and still get rejected to the top schools. On the other hand, your child's scores can be far from perfect and still get in. Why is that? And that's because of the holistic admission process, where they look at the full story of your child, from the grades to essays, passion, their life interests, and the context matters. But here's what has not changed. Let's say your child is in a crunch time where they only have a few months to really stand out in college admissions applicant pool, and there's really not enough time to dramatically improve their grades, or their resume is pretty much all built out and not much change can be made. Then the SAT and the college essays are going to be the two main components, weapons, so to speak, at demonstrating the academic rigor of your child. Now, here's some questions to ask if your child needs a tutor or self-study. So first question you ask is if your child is self-motivated to do well on the test. And do they have a solid math foundation? Solid math foundation. I'm talking about in algebra, both 1 and 2, and geometry, which includes trigonometry as well. If they answer yes to these two questions, then they can study on their own. If not, they're probably going to need a tutor. A third scenario also applies if they struggle to know why they missed, why they made a mistake, why they got the question wrong. If they're not aware of their weaknesses, then that's also areas where a tutor might come in and save their time. So now let's talk about what are the right books to study for the digital SAT. I always going to put College Board official SAT test prep book. I mean, they literally this is the company that's administering the SAT every year, so this is as official as it gets. Some other brands I know, some other companies I know are Kaplan, Princeton Review, Barron's. They're all solid choices. And here's a tip that I'll give, is that every student needs multiple explanations for the same concept. So one book might confuse the student, whereas the other book, for example, Princeton Review, might make the most sense for the student, makes it click for them. So don't just skimp on books. Just because you bought this College Board book for your child, don't neglect these other options. They need multiple explanations of the same concept to truly master the topic to get a high score. So, and plus, buying these 3 books in total, this is going to be cheaper than some test prep course. And these books are more permanent, meaning they can literally access the books at any time without having to go somewhere physical or to schedule another session and wait for it before they get to learn something. Now, how to actually study? This is another great question that I get from a lot of parents. How to actually study? So first, what I recommend is divide and conquer approach. What do I mean by that? What I mean is don't study everything at once. So for example, on the first day, You don't want to be covering both math and English. This is no good. For the day one, on the first day, for example, you want to just spend on geometry section, for example. Even more specifically, circles. And your child needs to spend as much time as he needs or she needs to master problems regarding the circles. Drill them, practice, practice, practice until it becomes second nature. For some of them, it might take 1 hour. For some of them, it might take a few days. Doesn't matter. Keep drilling the same topic until they master it, and then move on to linear equation, systems, and then functions. So only after you master a certain topic, then you go back and relearn whatever concepts that they're weak at or they need refresher on. And especially for math, I also recommend them studying with their textbooks because they contain way more problems for practice. All right. SAT books have too few problems to build real fluency in various math topics. So utilize their high school textbooks as well. Now, here's the biggest mistake you can make as a parent, and that is to not have them start early. They keep delaying the preparation, thinking, oh, we'll just have my son crash course junior year. He's smart. But that's the biggest mistake that you can make. And the other mistake is signing up for random SAT classes without checking who the class is for. Okay? And the result is that your high scoring kid sits next to someone scoring 400 and the class moves at a wrong speed. You want to make sure it's specialized based on your child's score and weakness. So have them start early, use mock exams to assess and customize based on real data. And look, you don't need to spend $3,000-$4,000 to prep for SAT, but you do need to plan for your child. The most successful students do not cram. They plan, they practice, and they execute. And that's the real secret to SAT prep.